Good day, fellow champions of inclusion. I am AA Ron, and this is the Inclusive Dad podcast where we explore inclusion and make it practical. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me in exploring ways we can create a more inclusive world together. You are important, you matter, and you can make a difference. Today, my guest is Kanika. Welcome to the show. I just did it, didn't I?
You said that absolutely okay. Thank
Okay,
you, Aaron, for having me here.
absolutely. Why don't you just start us off by telling me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I am Kanika. I'm an energy coach and an Akashic Records healer. So maybe I'll break that down.
Yes.
I'll talk about energy coach and what that is, right? So it sort of sounds foreign, like what the hell? Who are you? What is an energy coach? But if you think about it, everything in the world is energy. And I'm really talking around our mood. I'm talking about how we feel. I'm talking about that invisible thing that either drains you or it charges you up. So you listen to a song and you go like, I love it and I feel so upbeat now I can dance and so on,
Hmm.
right? That's the charging up with. There'll be certain people you meet, there'll be certain books you read, there'll be certain podcasts like this one where you feel all fired up, ready to go and, do anything. So that's the energy
Right.
charging. And then there's the energy discharging. And sometimes we have to do that. Like we might be looking after our kids and, you just hold space for them. So there's that holding space. But there are places where we give our energy. That could be, well, they're sad songs, they're sad movies, they're just all that sort of programming, or listen to the news when they tell
Hmm.
you that, there's a recession, there's this war
Yeah.
going on and stuff, all that bad news, and it just drains your energy. You do not feel charged up.
Yeah.
So, whether we actually see this role of an energy coach or not, we are all the time living, vibrating with energy. We'll have relationships, we'll sometimes feel fired up, charged up with them, and sometimes negatively. So my role really is to help you look after your energy and work in a way so that you feel overjoyed and charged and fulfilled with your meaning. I love working with parents. I love having parents heal themselves and then bring that energy to raise their kids as
Hmm.
well so that they can raise them with resilience and confidence. Um, then the next part of my work is Akashic Records healing. So Akashic Records is it just gets mystical and mystical and mystical, right?
Hmm.
Like first I
Yep.
talked about energy coach. And my background is I'm an engineer, I'm an MBA professional. So if
Okay.
they're like all those left brain people who are listening to this, I mean, I'm with you.
Yeah.
There was a time when all of this was very foreign to me, but I've done this work for a long time now, and it does make sense to me. And it is okay if you're skeptical. I absolutely hear you. That's absolutely all right. Just asking you, perhaps, to just stay curious, just listen to it with an open mind. Take what resonates with you and what doesn't. That's okay. You can just leave it off. So, Akashic records are this mystical library, like the Google library. They're all around us and they carry or they store the information of everything that is happening, everything that's happening in my life, your life, and so on, and all the previous lives that we would have had as well. So, if I look at my life, or perhaps let's say a typical client's life, right? They've had something happen in their childhood. Someone told them that you cannot do this because of so and so, you don't look good at
Hmm.
that, or you can't dress like that. So, there's a limit that we put on ourselves like that. And that is coming from that childhood experience. That's that inner child work. And then there could be certain programming that is passed on to us from our past lives. Like we would have had past lives where we were limited in some sense. Maybe we had to struggle for money or just for survival. We have ancestors who might have had some stress. There are studies that now show that we carry trauma from our previous three generations. Even if we don't know them, we still carry that trauma, we
Hmm.
still carry that story within us. So, what we can do with the Akashic records is we can understand what that is. Like, what is the wiring, that goes in me? What makes my imprint? And we can then start healing that bit. So, which is where I really love healing those bits and helping my clients shift from that, whatever that limit is,
Mm.
shifting from that to a more empowered place. It's almost like Russian dolls, they're little, and
Yep.
then you have a small, tiny doll inside, then
Mm.
you have a bigger doll, bigger doll, bigger doll. So once you remove the limit, it's like you come into this bigger doll size. Like you have a bigger size, just meaning that you have more confidence, suddenly more doors open for you, more opportunities happen, and so on. Because there's just like this invisible, but really very energetically existing wall or
Right.
that separates you from you and your next step.
Yeah,
And that's what I help clear.
that's great. So yeah, you reached out to me to connect and be on my podcast. Do you want to go into a little bit about what you saw me or looking at my stuff and what you thought are, why you wanted to be on and talk what you wanted to talk about?
All right. Yeah, definitely happy to do it that way. Thanks so much. But I especially reached out to you because this podcast is a lot around inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And so my message here was very much around that there can be a label around somebody's specialty. you know
Right.
let's say somebody's not able to walk properly, or they're speech disabled, or they are on the spectrum, any of those things, any of those disabilities that we talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And the main reason why I wanted to come here and talk about that from an energy perspective is
Sure.
that we view them in the world and we think that, oh, they're limited in some sense. And the truth i- is not really that, because that's part of the story that we are seeing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think of it this way: when the kids come in, when they have some limit in some sense, and I'll talk about my own son or I'll talk about my clients, often when they have speech delays, for example, there is a reason why they have that. Like, yes, there's a physical reason, and you'll be able to understand that. But what's going on is that there's certain things that they are meant to learn. So before we come on earth, we all have a particular story. We all have a particular reason why we come on earth. And it might sound really, really far out, but you choose your parents. You choose at least the key people in your life, the key things that you want to learn, and you go, okay, this is what I want to learn. This is how I want to grow. And this is why you would see that there are different things that might happen to even twins in the same family. Like they'll have just a different trajectory, for example, because one might have come to learn a lot about love in terms of unconditional love. And so they want to really give and so on. They want to learn in that process.
Yeah.
Another one, the driver might be something else. That is innately like how you would understand your purpose is really just look at what are the things that you really wanted to do, what really excited you. Generally around the age of 2 or 3 years old, what was it that was really exciting? Now, that time, of course, you liked a lot of toys or scribbling or those things, but look at the things that got you a lot of joy. What was it
Right.
that you were innately interested in? And then follow that thread as you got along till somewhere something started going like, this is how I should do instead because that's better for me. So that's how we all grew up. That was our purpose. And somehow we lose track. But within that purpose and within that losing track is usually the story of this is what I need to learn, right? So if I especially look at kids who have come with some disability, like we were talking about speech
Mm-hmm.
disabled kids, when they come, they are choosing that lack for something because they want to learn. It is more often than not because when you have a lack of something and when you have to learn about something, it takes more practice, it takes more diligence compared to other kids. Life's easier for them and it's not as
Mm-hmm.
easy for this kid. But when they have to spend that time, it teaches them a lot of things. It might teach them hard work. also might teach them a lot of empathy. So, for example, what I'd find, especially with a lot of speech delayed kids, is that they need to learn that empathy, just getting along, observing a lot more, which can also be said for a lot of kids who would have similar disabilities or who are on the spectrum, because often they have to observe a lot. They have to learn that way. So,
Hmm.
there's a lot more depth to them, and this is why they have that delay, because they're choosing to learn that way. So in a body experience, like in in the world where you and I are speaking on this
Right.
call, it can feel like, okay, there's a lag, but it's not a lag from the soul's perspective, because the soul's going like, right, I'm getting into this body and I'm just going to hit the ground running. What do
Hmm.
I need to do? Okay, I need to learn about empathy. I need to learn a lot more around the world. What could be a better way than to just sit down and allow life to unfold, because you don't have to speak as much, right? Like
Right. Yep.
you'll observe a lot more. So they do that. This is how they're learning. And then your question might be, well, what about the parents then, or what about their caretakers, and why do they have this raw deal?
Hmm.
And which is where lots of other things come in, like, for example, the karmic patterns come in. What did you do in one of your previous lifetimes? Did you do something to them? Did you take away something from them? So now it is your turn to like give that back, balance it out. So one life you learn to take love from someone, so this time you're learning to give that love. So you're learning
Okay.
unconditional love. And it's really around, especially with all the disabilities, I see more that the parents or the caretakers are learning a lot more unconditional love, and they're learning to separate from the whole idea of control and power to a lot more selflessness, to a lot more purpose, which is the beauty that these kids bring to us.
Yeah. Can you can you maybe explain, like we talked before we recorded? I mean, I grew up in the United States in Christianity, so they talk about the soul choosing things, or like even in previous lives. Can you maybe, I don't know if you can do this, but give like a brief, I don't know, maybe explanation of like how in your beliefs, like the soul, is lives like more than one, like what we consider like a life, maybe? Because for me, that, growing up Christianity, that's not, what I was taught. I mean, I can conceptually understand what you're saying. Just maybe explain like a little bit of that.
Yeah, excellent question. Excellent. And I think, really good of you to ask this question as well, because I can totally believe that a lot of other people would be wondering the same thing. Like, does reincarnation really happen? What do you mean we get
Right.
born again, and so on? Okay. I'll perhaps start with this story. I'll start with my own story, maybe, just to explain that.
Sure.
So, as I said, I'm an engineer, I'm an MBA professional. And for the longest time, all of this was just very foreign to me. Even though I grew up in India, reincarnation is a very common belief there. But I wasn't, maybe I was thinking about it, but this life, currently how we are, like Kanika in this flesh
Hmm.
and body, that just made a lot more sense to me than thinking about, what do you mean? Like, I have other lifetimes. What do you mean? Right?
Hmm.
Like that did not, um, that was just a lot of woo, just very far out. And so I was more doing, just, I suppose, as a lot of people do, growing up normally, trying to do things which make us successful,
Hmm.
all those things. And amidst that, what I was really doing was I didn't completely know who I was. So I was trying to do perhaps what my parents wanted, or what society wanted, what my friends wanted, and my career trajectory, or even life just went like that, fitting in and doing what everybody thought was okay for me. And you see, in this is a deviation, because what did my soul want? My soul purpose, which is probably what a lot of people do as well. What did I want to do? I didn't do that,
Hmm.
but I did what everyone else wanted me to do. So I now fast forwarded to about the time when I was about 35 years old. And this is the time when I'm feeling really disconnected. Like life on paper or on Facebook looks really good. And
Mm.
nothing was false. Like the pictures were great, the holidays were great, the marriage was great, everything looked okay. And within that, I was very sad. I was very disconnected, depressed. I had my son at that time. I was pregnant with another daughter. And I just wasn't happy. I wasn't happy in my marriage. And I talked to some of my close friends, and it was like, well, it's the mid-30s crisis. We didn't know any better. And so then I learned around meditation, and I actually read books on meditation because the engineer that I am, like, what do
Mm.
you do? Why should I do it? What is the process to do it? I did that. I tried calming my mind for 2 minutes. Really hard, by the way. Really, really hard. Especially if your mind's running all the time and you just feel like, okay, 2 minutes, like, don't think anything. Very hard. But this is the thing, like, even if I calmed my mind for 2 minutes, the change didn't happen after that. Like, I would finish that, I would still get back to life. Life was just the same.
Mm.
Yes, I'd calmed myself for 2 minutes. I did not think anything for 2 minutes. Those 2 minutes were great. Same life again. So it wasn't working. And my pregnancy on paper, really good. Like all my tests were happening very well. Everything was okay. But it was the most, uh, I just suppose, like the saddest pregnancy because I would wake up crying. I was just very, very unhappy. And what was killing me inside was that I've done technically everything that I was supposed to do, where I'm supposed to be
Mhm.
happy. And I'm going to have this child, and I don't know. Like, I'm going to bring a child into the world, and I don't know what happiness is. How do you get happiness? I don't know that. And then one day I just woke up and I did not feel a movement at night, which I didn't realize. I was just sleeping. And when I woke up, I'm like, oh gosh, like I haven't felt her move. Went to the doctors, realized that there was no heartbeat. I was 31 weeks pregnant by then. And so I had to give birth to a sleeping baby. And it was very different to what I'd expected in terms of her arrival. I had her bassinet, I had her nursery, all the normal things that an expecting parent would do. And I just instead had this emptiness. Um, and so that time, it was a lot of shock, obviously, but it was a lot of guilt. It was a lot of shame. It was
Mm.
like, why did this happen? And I really wanted to tell her that, hey, I love you. So I really wanted to connect with her. And so I was trying to find peace and I would write letters to her. And sometimes I would say, well, I wish you well because I really wanted to tell her that I love you. I wish you the best.
Mhm.
Letters were the only way I could do that. So I would do that. And then there were other times where I was just feeling absolutely awful. And I would just go that, hey, like it's terrible. I cannot survive. I can't do this. And I would start off with that. I cannot tell you, Aaron, how many times I started letters like that, like feeling absolutely terrible in the moment. Then I would keep writing. By the time I would finish, I was always finishing with hope. I was always finishing with my vibration still up. It was as if
Mhm.
something else was holding me. So I would start with, I don't like this. This is hard. I cannot carry on with life. And something would tell me, no, but it's okay. It'll be fine. I'll be fine. It's okay. So that was the first step where I started realizing, well, there's got to be something that's bigger than me. And
Mhm.
that's the time when I just started almost like curiosity, probably not even curiosity because I was desperate then, but was like, well, if something's out there right now, I'm open and I'm inviting that in. So I would just go, well, universe, just help me. Like this has happened, but just help me. Help me get through it. Help me understand. Help me connect with her. I knew nobody at the time in the sense of a spiritual teacher, someone who would
Mhm.
teach me something like this, but just sheer miracles. I found a teacher who was into energy healing, and this is what he taught me. And he helped me connect with my daughter. I was able to have a conversation with her. And this is the beautiful thing that I
Mm.
learned, I think, which probably a lot of people can take away. So, in my body, I was obviously having a very terrible experience. Not really, you know, just feeling a lot of pain with with the loss of my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But when I spoke to her and I said, well, why did you come into life? And then why did you not decide to come? And she's like, well, we had a soul contract. Our contract was that if you were not living your life purpose, if you were just going to waste your life, then I would just come in and I would wake you up. And so I just did my deed. So she was just fulfilling her contract. And retrospectively, what I think is like such a beautiful blessing. Like, thank God to her, because how my life was before, I was so down and I did not know about happiness. And afterwards, this is what she taught me. This is her gift to me. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that was the beginning of my story around understanding souls, that, oh, we all get born again, and so on. And this is how I felt for me. This is how the journey started for me. But I'll give you more stories around just soul incarnation, around contracts, around how that works for us, right? So that
Sure.
people can understand it. So think of well, let's do this example. Imagine an apple, and now take that apple and slice it into 1,000 pieces. 1,000. Just imagine, right? Pick one slice out, and that's your current lifetime right now. That's your current lifetime. Paper thin, and we think that this is me, like the little thin slice.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody tells us that, you cannot sing. And we go like, okay, I haven't really sung in this lifetime. Yep, I cannot sing. Whereas in your other lifetimes, there might have been times where you were singing, you were a rock star, or
Mm-hmm.
you were just doing so many amazing things. The whole apple is you. The whole apple is your soul. Now, sometimes what the soul is doing is it's just wanting to learn. So it sort of goes to different lifetimes. It goes to this lifetime, it wants to learn something, goes to another lifetime, wants to learn something else. It's like you want to try out Mexican, then you want to try out Japanese, and you want to try out Thai, and so on. The soul sometimes goes like, well, okay, let's try out love. Let's just have a really beautiful love relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And then goes, okay, I learned that with a partner. Now let's learn that with our parents. And what is it to have really loving parents? Then goes, well, I really want to learn that again. But this time, let us not have a parent. Let us lose a parent. Let us lose a dog. Let us have someone who treats on us like because we are mastering love, we master love in all the directions. And in the body, it can feel painful, but what the soul is really doing, for the soul, it's not as hard, right? It's not experiencing all that suffering. So it's just
Yep.
going, well, let me just try it out. Let me just try out Mexican, Japanese, Thai,
Mm-hmm.
Vietnamese. It is just doing that. And it becomes hard in the body because we see ourselves as just that little slice,
Right.
that thin slice. We don't see the whole picture. For me, losing my daughter was so hard till the time I understood the picture. Once I can see that, it's a lot easier. Even though there's loss in the physical experience, but it's a lot easier because I understand that my relationship with her hasn't ended. Like there was a physical relationship, and there's a much more deeper soul to
Right.
soul relationship. I'll give you examples of like my clients, because for me, the more I've done Akashic record readings, the more I understand past lives and the impact that they have. So perhaps that'll make sense. Um, I
Do you have,
remember,
sorry, do you have any examples of maybe like a person with a disability or parents of people with disabilities?
yeah. So not with disabilities as such, but okay, yeah. I have a parent who came up with the speech disability for their kid. Not really speaking, and this is actually maybe I have a match there. I just get lots of clients who are struggling with communication with their kids. Like their kids are not able to fully explain themselves, they're not able to always fully understand themselves. And then when I look, usually in those stories, a lot of the times, the kids who are having that is more because they've done a lifetime where, well, couple of scenarios I'll give you. There's one scenario where the child was a warrior in the last time, in the previous lifetimes, and he did a lot of killings to win. So he was carrying that. And so this lifetime, when he's manifested that, okay, I'm not going to speak as much, it is to experience the lack himself, because there was lack of empathy in terms of killing, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of taking that away from everyone. So how do you teach them kindness, right? Karma or balance or
Yep.
learning. What is it about? It's more about coming back to harmony, coming back to the unconditional love, like to divine light.
Right.
So to come back to that, you have to learn, okay, what did you do wrong there? And how do I teach you that? Is like, okay, experience a lack yourself. See what happens when you don't have things that others have, and learn from that. So that's what this child manifested in their life. This was the reason. Then there was another child, where I'm just trying to tap in again. Um, yeah. So for this child, expressing, writing things was very hard. There were times when they would, like, it was a double thing, right? Where they were able to write beautiful songs, and yet like the sound and everything was not coming out. So in a sense, like the composing was very, very good, what they were able to do, and yet the speech or the idea or how they wanted to present that wasn't happening. um, and when we looked at this child, it was more what had happened in their previous lifetime was that they had been like a foreseer, a seer. So they were speaking a lot of the truth, sharing their wisdom, and telling the world, like, this is what is going to happen. And what had happened was that they'd said something that wasn't very well received, because, like a ruler asks you something, and then you go like, well, if you do
Right.
this battle, you're actually going to lose. So it's not the best news to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And then the messenger has been killed in that part. So they are punished for what they've said. They're punished for what they have foreseen.
Mm-hmm.
This is why there's a bit around these kids sometimes when we feel like, oh, they're very, very gifted. They can do those things. So they can, and yet they're learning now to overcome that previous witch wound, mostly it's called, where they have been stopped from shining into their light. So usually with those kids, a lot of work has to be done, and that is just more around letting them accept themselves and letting them come into their light, because they remember an imprint from a past life where they were punished for having their gifts. And so this time they have it. And then there's almost like a tug of war happening. They want to have that gift and they don't want to have that gift. They want to show it. And that's why they're extremely talented and they're not talented at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's the conundrum that's playing out in this lifetime.
Yeah. Thanks for giving some of those examples. Can you maybe talk about how parents of disabled children are often part of a powerful soul contract to help transform outdated societal beliefs?
Yeah, sure. So when parents are working with them, so parents have their own contracts as well. Like none of your key relationships are just there by chance.
Mm-hmm.
There's, whether it's your parents, whether it's your partners, whether it's your kids, typically these are very key relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So you have chosen them, you've chosen all those participants for a very particular reason. And this is why you have those kids as well. And a lot of times, so I've talked about how these kids teach us unconditional love, they teach us more patience. but they also teach us to reflect a lot more. They help us get more to balance because when you look at them in terms of, well, there is a lack. Like you're always comparing the other kids, you're seeing the other kids in the playground, you're watching them do something,
Mm.
and then you're looking at your own kid, and then you have to shift that measurement. You have to somewhere go, okay, I'm not going to measure them the way the world does. I have to start seeing that light. But guess what? The beauty in this is whatever happens in your life, it's always a mirror of whatever is inside you. I repeat that. Whatever is inside you, whatever programs, whatever conditioning you carry inside you, there's a reflection of that you see outside. So, till the time you see a child with a lack, you see that child, and that is true, right? I'm not saying that
Yeah.
that's not true. But till the time you're measuring them with a lack, it means you're also measuring yourself with a lack. Like you are really seeing more on the areas where you're not performing, you are judging yourself a lot more, all those all the control, all the limits, they're very active in this stage.
Hmm.
Then you're moving your vibration to a place, especially as you look after these kids. And as a parent, this is the most powerful area of growth. You come to a place where you want to look at their light and guess the shift that's happening. Because as you move here, you're starting to look at your own inner light as well. You're starting to move away from the limits. You're not saying, well, this is what you can't do. You're starting to focus on this is what you can do.
Right.
When you're focusing it for them, you're also focusing it for yourself. You're going, well, this is what I can do. Literally, your vibration is shifting from control and limits to possibilities and creativity. And that's the key shift. That is what these kids are teaching us. So that's why it's a brilliant soul contract. By the way, if you want to figure out what your soul contract is with your kids as well, I've got a beautiful freebie. You can find it at artoflifecenter.com/parent. And I think I can give you the link as well to
Sure.
include in the show notes.
Absolutely. Thank you. We're like way into this, and I haven't asked my question I always ask. What is your definition of inclusion?
Well, great. I think the definition for inclusion for me would be the same as the definition of love. And it's a little bit different than love as we understand a lot of times. Love might be, well, hey, Aaron, I love you if
Hmm.
you are dressed a certain way. I love you if you throw out the garbage or something, right? It's different than that. It's not conditional love.
Hmm.
It's not, it's a state of existence, love. Love is Love is accepting. Love is seeing the other person, seeing the light in them, and accepting and being absolutely okay with that. Love is even with someone you don't like, and it's not trying to control them or being triggered by them, but love is literally that, okay, I see you. This is how you are. This is how I am. So, inclusion is literally that. Like you take everybody around you, you see them and you go like, well, this is who we are. Like just coming from that place of unconditional love, not not judging it, just being really open. And sometimes people will be very receptive to it, sometimes people will include, sometimes people will be understanding. Sometimes people won't be. But for me, that's okay. You don't understand it right. I get you. I see you. I'm still
Yeah.
in this spot. This is where I'm vibrating at. I am going to just offer love. And when you are ready, you can come and receive that.
Yeah. I love that. Maybe can you share practical ways we can advocate for inclusion while honoring each individual's spiritual and energetic brilliance?
Repeat that question again for me, please.
Can you maybe share some practical ways we can advocate for inclusion while honoring each individual's spiritual and energetic brilliance?
Yeah, sure. So when you want to honor every child, try and see their light. So look at yourself with your own light as well.
Hmm.
See, it's always both ways, hand in hand. Parenting is very much like that. You look at how are you looking at yourself and allow more grace, more compassion, more love for yourself. Go instead with what is it that you're doing right? With your child as well, go instead of looking at the lack, instead of looking at what they can't do, and even if you're trying to move them to the places, where you want to stretch them, you want to help them out, you want to expand what they can do in life, even when you are helping them with those really practical strategies, focus on the good, focus on what is already working for them,
Hmm.
focus on what they can do, focus on the light that they bring. Now, I'll give you the story. We all know Steve Jobs, most of us have heard about him.
Yep.
He invented, well, the iPhone. He literally changed how we operate with computers. He changed how we operate with our phones and just changed all of our lives, right?
Yep.
Now, he was a dyslexic. So he was a lack
Hmm.
as he was growing up. Again and again, he was told that there was something wrong with him. Again and again, the whole world, his parents were told that there was something wrong with him. And yet he came out and he changed the world. And this is what I want each of us to take away today. It doesn't matter who the kid we have with us, what is the weakness that they have. There is a perception that we can have that the kid lacks something. There is a perception that you have that you lack something. There's something wrong about you. But consider this, perhaps, that there was one divine spark, God, whoever created you, whoever created your child,
Hmm.
that divinity that created you or the child, that same divine being source that created you as well. They can't do it wrong. So even if you don't see the story, you don't understand your whole story, you are divine. There's a purpose that your child's got to do. For that, they have the perfect ingredient. And whatever weakness you are feeling or your child's feeling, usually that is the exact place where they're going to light up the world.
Right.
Steve Jobs was dyslexic. That's why he wanted all the systems to be really simple to use. And what a
Hmm.
gift that has been for the world. So
Right.
thank God that he was dyslexic. And thank God our kids are the same, are the way they are. And thank God we are the way they are because the world needs us like this.
Yeah. Thank you. Where's the best place for everybody to connect with you?
Yeah, so I can be found at Kanika Energy Coach on LinkedIn and Instagram, and YouTube as well. Or otherwise, you can reach out to me on my website. It is called ART, offlifecenter.com. Just shout out with any questions. And at artoflifecenter.com/parent is where you see that freebie. This is my gift to all the parents just to understand their soul contracts with their kids or to understand their karmic patterns with their kids. But you don't just understand them. You also get to heal them, rewrite them. So if you have a story with your child where you feel really triggered because of something, usually it can be past life related or it can be karmic pattern that is there and you get to heal that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Ready for the last question? Do you like spam lunch meat? Yes or no?
No.
No. Do they have it in Australia?
I think so. I just don't. Yeah, I'm a vegetarian.
So yeah,
Mm,
that's a no.
yeah.
I live near Austin, Minnesota, where they make it and where the spam museum is located. So I've been asking all my guests just for curiosity to see what the answer is. So that's kind of my surprise question at the end.
I love that though. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really honestly learned a lot of new things and a lot of things to think about. So just thank you for your mission and sharing your journey with us.
Thanks a lot, Aaron. It was such a pleasure to be here.
To those listening, thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey. It is truly an honor. Please join the podcast newsletter by clicking on the link in the episode description to keep up with the latest episodes. Together, we can make the world more inclusive. Until next time, stay empowered and be a champion for inclusion.